Hello, everyone. This is Adana with Santosha Rising, and we are here with Rebecca Eldridge, and she is a licensed psychologist who focuses on integrating multicultural issues into her work with her clients in higher ed, organizations, and refugees. As a therapist, speaker, and coach and facilitator, she applies her mental health expertise and passion for social justice in service of those who give so much of themselves to others. Um, Rebecca, you are just somebody who we met last year, and I just so admire your spirit and your spirit of service and how you um, show up for people in ways that um, they wouldn't necessarily expect. But it's always a pleasant surprise in how deeply you care and try to connect people with their sense of self and power. I always have the saying that uh, most people are awesome, they just don't realize how much yet. And I think you have a very similar philosophy in terms of helping people uncover what's important to them. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you. What a lovely intro.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this idea of taking care of yourself during the tumultuous news cycles that we find ourselves in, all of the different inputs that we're getting from all different sources. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm having this conversation many times a day because it's something that's affecting like nearly all of my clients as well as friends and connections in my network, trying to figure it out. Um, and the main thing that I hear people struggling with is this tension between I want to be informed or I need to be informed or both. And like it's coming so much so fast that I just want to like dig a hole and crawl in it. You know, so it's really impacting people's ability to function optimally to do the things that they want to do. And people feel like they're in this push and pull between either I need to like close it off and just try to avoid it all, or I'm constantly dysregulated and overwhelmed every time it comes at me, every time I look at a news story. And what I'm trying to remind people is that even if you knew this was coming, even if you're not surprised by it, even if you know history, even if you went into this eyes wide open and um, expected it to some extent, like it's still new once it's actually here and happening and real. And so to really encourage people to try to be gentle with themselves during this, I mean, it might feel like 10 years have already come off of our lives, but it's actually been less than a month since this iteration of history really started taking hold. And so it's still finding your balance again in this new environment. One of my clients has said, she said she saw something that said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And I keep thinking about that idea or even the idea of an echo. Like we know a lot, we know our history, we know a lot about what's happening right now, but it still never happened in exactly this way, at exactly this time and this place, and with these actors and with this media environment. And so to really take stock of where we are and allow it to be a little bit of an experiment early on of finding your balance and figuring out what that perfect balance is for you. And that's why, as we were talking earlier, that's really what motivated the workshop series that I'm offering over the next few weeks as well, with the first one tomorrow being focused a lot on the news in particular, as how do you protect yourself? How do you set yourself up so that you can make use of the news that you're consuming without it kind of chewing you up and spitting you out instead.
Well, yeah. How do you consume the news without it consuming you? That's such a great like phrase. What are the steps? Are there steps? Are there 5 steps to consume the news without it
There are
consuming
steps,
you?
but there's not even five. Yeah, the steps, I think in a nutshell, like first, to be really clear about what your intentions are. What are you looking for when you're taking in news or information? How do you want to be using that information? And it's different for different people. So even though a lot of people might say, like, well, I want to be informed, but like go a little bit beyond that, like informed to what end? Informed for what purpose? What type of informed? For me, for example, I'm not going to take in all the news because I'm going to memorize all the facts and figures to rattle them back off to people. Like my brain just doesn't work that way. I'm not going to be able to spit out facts and references to this legal document and that statistic in a conversation. But for me, it's really important to be informed so that one, I'm showing up aware of what people are dealing with in my network and my community and my clients so that I can not have that labor be on them to have to educate or inform me. And also so that I can stay in empowered action about the things that I can do, the steps that I can take, the causes that I can support, the people that I can lift up that are doing amazing things. So when I consume news, I want to be really clear, like, this is what I'm looking to get out of it.
Mhm.
Secondly, then, it's like, okay, if you know this is my purpose, then you start to track, right? Right now is almost like an experiment. This comes a little bit from my Gestalt training, where like, if you can frame it as an experiment, then you can give yourself permission to try it out, see what's working for you and what's not. So if you come away from something and you're feeling totally depleted and like you want to get out the shovel and start digging that hole that I was talking about earlier, then you go, okay, what was I just consuming? At what time of day? For what lengths? From what sources? Right? You start to notice like what was it that went into that experience? Or if you come away from something feeling more uplifted, more empowered, more hopeful, or more like, yes, now I know the actions to take, or now I am aware for these conversations I'm about to have, then okay, same questions, right? What was I taking in? What were the sources? How much of it? What time of day? So you can start to notice and pare down so that you're taking in the information more and more efficiently and more effectively for your goals.
Hmm. So if I know why I want to read the news, I mean, I know I have friends and family members that are just looking for clues about how safe it is for them to exist in their space,
Yep.
right? Um, my sister and her very gay family in Idaho um, already had indicators before, this last year that there were possibilities that their safety would be in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And now it feels like it's accelerating that their safety is in more danger. And so I get text messages from her regularly asking about like, what should she do? When is the sign? When do I need to move? Like, what is the indicators? And like you said before, like there's not really like this moment has never happened in history and it never will happen in history the same exact way. But it does rhyme, it does echo. And so you can look at history and you can see, well, certain things are happening very quickly, that are shifting what we understood to be cultural norms or uh,
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it, social contracts. Um, and so if we're rewriting all the social contracts, um, well, then we have to make the decisions when it feels like it's most necessary for us to. do what I
Yeah.
need to do to be safe.
And I think, I mean, safety could be a huge purpose of staying informed for many, many people and many, many places right now, making those same calculations about how do I know? And that sounds like for her, I think making those calculations is an important way to stay informed. And then it's staying informed in a way that's helpful, right? Like, what information do you need in order to assess your safety in
Mhm,
your current environment, right? Because if you read about every hate crime going on everywhere in the world, then, everything's going to tell you that it's unsafe everywhere,
mhm,
right? So it's still about saying, okay, I'm trying to decide, is it safe for me and my family to be here now, like here in this community, or here in this state, or here in this country, right? All of these are important questions. How will I know? Like, what would be my line? What would be the things that I would need to know in order to assess the risk and the
mhm,
benefits? Because I mean, picking up and moving your whole family is a huge deal. And yet people around the world have had to do that many, many times because of a lack of safety. So huge questions, but not all of the news will help to answer that question.
mhm. I think a lot of people, myself included, I'm just scanning for indicators plus or minus, right? I'm looking for, is this a positive indicator or is this a negative indicator? And all I'm doing is just sorting by looking at the stories. I'm just sorting this category, that category, this category, that category. And like it's actually not very effective at all, but it does, stimulate the dopamine for the moment and say, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's tricky too because the news itself is going to be skewed. The algorithm that's showing you the news, depending on where you're looking, is going to be skewed.
Mhm.
Then our brain is skewed in terms of how it takes in information. So we
For
find,
threats.
right, we find what we're looking for, right? So if we're looking for signs of safety or signs of danger, like we'll be more attuned to and have confirmation bias with finding the things that confirm the story that we already think we know.
Hmm.
And then we have the brain's negativity bias weighing in as well, where research shows that it can take like 3 to 10 things positive on average to just even out the way our brain processes and latches onto one negative thing. So there's a lot to sort through, which gets complex really fast.
Yeah, yeah. So reading the news, looking for something as abstract as does I'm looking for signs of safety. It feels like maybe that's not quite as purposeful uh, as I need it to be. So, like, what would I do instead?
Well, I think you could still say I need to look for signs of safety, but you'd want to track a little bit more detailed of where, like what are the sources that you're trusting to give you that information. Maybe a news algorithm is not going to be your best friend in that regard, but if you have some trusted sources that you go to specifically, then that can be useful, or people that you trust, in terms of safety, because the brain is going to weigh negatives more positively. One of the things that I'm thinking of a lot and hearing other people really resonate with as well is the old Mr. Rogers advice of look for
For
the
the
helpers,
helpers? Yeah.
right? You
That's what
know,
this is called. This whole series is called Look for the Helpers.
it is
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
You're my first helper. And
I didn't
so
even know that.
now it's gonna be it's
That's
gonna be
it.
all the helpers I can find. And let's have conversations that help people get through what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for safety, like who are the people that you trust even within your community, or who would be the people that would know and would warn you if
Hmm.
if they knew that there was a risk, like the people maybe that are in the know or that are attuned to that. And and then on a wider spread level, looking to it, yeah, who's doing what? Like who are the resources, who are the organizations that are taking care of you or that would be in a position to offer support when or if there is a need.
Hmm. Yeah, that's huge. Look for the helpers and make sure you're connected to them. So, are there only two steps? Are there more steps?
I I I jumped over, I think the first one we talked about, which was perspective, just having the perspective of this is a new iteration. And so if you weren't already being hard on yourself or like, I'm not knowing enough, or like I'm getting too overwhelmed, or like, I this back and forth, then just saying like, okay, let me give myself some time to figure this out. Then number two would be the intentions. Number three would be start tracking, really pay attention to when you're feeling more empowered, when you're feeling more aligned with your values, your goals, and your purpose. And number four would be, continuing to offer yourself self-compassion, kindness.
That thing, yes.
Yes, that thing. When you do get dysregulated and when you don't have it all figured out yet. And, this is really, we're talking about kind of news consumption, but I think you could apply these same steps to where else do you get overwhelmed? Where
Mm,
else do you feel flattened, depleted, dysregulated, and noticing like what are my goals and how is what I'm doing, what I'm taking in, what I'm engaging with, adding to or subtracting from my ability um, to live my life in a way that's joyful and meaningful and impactful and safe and connected. And so, the first one, this conversation that we're starting now is really around how do you protect your sense of clear, calm, and connected, or from the polyvagal theory way of looking at things, like your ventral state. How do you
mhm.
protect that so that you can spend more time in it and invite less dysregulation in? And then, of course, other steps would be understanding what's happening when you are getting dysregulated and recovering from the dysregulation when it's happened. And so those are also things that at least the three weeks that I'm planning, these next three are going to go through each of those three parts with some concrete tools.
Okay, so thank you for bringing us back to what you're doing this month, because I think that this is so important. This is why I was like, we have to talk tonight. I mean, whether people show up or not, I need for you to have this conversation so that people know that there is an opportunity to work with you to, number one, work on the news consumption thing and the consuming of things that dysregulate us. Like that's number one. That's week one, tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Tomorrow.
And then you have two more sessions this month. Is that it? Or
Yep.
three? Okay, two more sessions.
Yep.
What are the other two on?
So week two is on understanding what's happening when you are getting dysregulated, tuning into your own unique body's cues and clues about what's happening. I find that when people are able to really understand and map out how their thoughts and their feelings and their physical sensations respond, that it can add some sense of empowerment and compassion and take away some of the like kick yourself while you're down kind of reactions. Like, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not getting more done? I need to be more productive. All I want to do is sleep. Like, right? Like, but beating ourselves up when we're
Mhm.
already down does not tend to be the most effective way to get
What are
up
you
down.
talking about? Of course, it's discipline, your inner drill sergeant.
Yes, your inner drill sergeant,
You
exactly.
can go sit down.
So yeah, so week two will be about understanding what's happening when you're getting dysregulated so that you can recognize it and use those messages as helpers
Mhm.
rather than attackers.
Okay.
And then the week three will be okay. So when you do get dysregulated, because we all do, and especially in this world, there's not going to be any way to guarantee that you will never get dysregulated, that you'll never visit your fight or flight or your freeze phases.
Mhm.
Like, okay, then knowing some of the things that work best for you to get back to that calm, clear, connected state. And I mean, that's really I know you know this already. That's really so key because that's where we can problem solve. That's where we can communicate more effectively. That's where we can access our ethical and moral reasoning skills.
Mhm.
That's where our whole body is functioning and working together. And we need all of that online right now for this moment that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Ah, powerful stuff.
So it's the series is simply based on what I'm hearing be most helpful to my clients during this time. It's free, it's not a gimmick, there's not a sales pitch involved. If it helps you, if it helps somebody that you know, please take advantage of it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And if you don't mind, I'll put the registration link in my community and then people
Yeah.
can type, as a part of being a part of the community, tap into your workshops. And I think that would be super helpful for them to have access to you and your wisdom around these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be of use so people can come to one or another or all three. They all are interrelated, but they all can stand alone. So use it however it best works for you.
Well, I appreciate it, Rebecca. This is amazing. And just thinking thinking about those first steps that we can take to um, be deliberate about our time, energy, and attention. I mean, that's part of what I share with people all the time. It's like you got to take care of your tea, right? And make sure that that time, energy, and attention is intentional.
Hmm.
And it's so easy to let it not be there and to judge ourselves for when it's not there as we want it to be. So I really appreciate you bringing us back into that self-compassionate state, that state where we can um, treat ourselves like we would treat some young person in our family who we love.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I was doing some of the prep, it reminded me a lot of what I heard you talking about in your presentation last
Mm,
night.
mhm,
Through the UC system,
right.
right? And so looking at, those four boxes, and sometimes we're getting caught up in what's urgent but not important.
Hmm.
And, I think taking care of your well-being is like one of the highest priorities right now for all of the people that care so deeply and so passionately about their loved ones, about their family's safety, about what's
Hmm.
happening in this country and in the world, and the suffering that's happening and being threatened. I think without you taking care of your well-being, your whole impact gets compromised. So I just champion that again and again.
Yes, yes, 100%. And you were talking about the Eisenhower matrix. We talked a little bit about that last night, and I talk with it with some of my clients. There's the urgent and the unimportant, which we don't need to do. We can delegate. There's the urgent and important. That's the thing that must be done first. Then there's the not urgent but important. This is the self-care things that you're talking about, the sleep, the activity, the way you eat, the way you connect with others. That stuff is vitally important, but it's never something that has to be done right now. So it often gets deferred when really it needs to be scheduled. That's
Yeah.
that's how we have to deal with that.
It
So,
gets deferred until it becomes urgent
and then we're at burnout.
and burnout or I know people who like contact me because they've been in the hospital, they've been in the emergency room, like they've neglected themselves for so long that now they're really dealing with what has become urgent.
Hmm.
So yeah, taking care of it before it gets to that point, that protection through prevention part of it.
Yeah, as a public health professional, I feel that. I feel that for sure.
I know
Um,
we're aligned.
yeah, we're 100% aligned on that. Um, yeah, so powerful, powerful work. Thank you for sharing this. I'm so excited to actually share with my community your work through this video, as well as giving them some links to tie into your workshops over the course of this month. I think it's going to be really important for them to tap into, and I'm looking forward to participating as much as I can too.
Fantastic. I love to see any of you there that can make it. And I appreciate Adana, your time. You're not feeling 100%. So,
Right.
but I appreciate you wanting to share this with your community as well.
Yes, yes, friend. Thank you. Oh, and if people want to get a hold of you, other than me dropping the links in the chat, what's the best way? Is it Instagram handles or like what do we do?
As
Websites, email
Yeah.
addresses?
I'm on LinkedIn, so you can reach me. I'm probably most active on LinkedIn or send me an email directly.
Okay.
I never was very good, but even less so with any of the meta platforms at the moment.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm on there. You can probably find my name or my handles on there, but um I'm not posting or responsive regularly at this point. So my email address is Rebecca at Rebecca E, the letter E, PhD.com. And
Okay.
Rebecca is Rebecca. So
Awesome. Okay, we got it. We got it. And we'll drop it in the chat below as well so people can get a hold of you. Thank
absolutely reach out if I can help.
Awesome. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much and look forward to seeing you in future extravaganzas.
Sounds great. Have a good night.
Thank you.